It's time for this week's episode of Brandon's Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in.
Welcome back to Brandon's Sports Talk. In today's episode, I had the privilege to interview Hunter Horenstein, who is the Myrtle Beach Pelicans Director of Fan Engagement. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Brandon. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get into the professional sports world?
Yeah. So originally, I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. I'm pretty sure I decided that in high school, or maybe it was even middle school. I'm not entirely sure. But my career goal was always to be a play-by-play announcer for a baseball team specifically. So when I went to college, that's what I did. I wanted to study communications and media studies. I had an emphasis in sports broadcasting and sports production, television, radio production. I interned for the athletics department. I called play-by-play for the various sports teams there. I wrote game stories for the volleyball team and a few other sport team. I went to a really small school called in the Bay Area in Northern California called Dominican University. And then it was in 2012 when I found out that there was going to be a brand new independent, so not affiliated, minor league baseball team coming to San Rafael, coming to the town in which I was going to school at. And so from there, I joined the staff as an unpaid intern, really just looking to help in any way I could. And that was a great experience because I saw beyond just the broadcasting aspect, and I learned a lot about what else the business of working in sports had to offer and entails. So after that first season, I decided that I was going to pursue the front office path and really no longer was going to try to be a broadcaster. But yeah, so that's kind of where it started. I had one path and ended up in a completely different one.
Can you talk about, of course, what your time was like at San Rafael Club?
Yeah, so the San Rafael Pacifics, that was the very first team that I worked for. They were a small little indie ball club in the Pacific Association of Professional Baseball. I'm not even sure that league still exists anymore, but I did a little bit of everything. We had a really small staff, and it's also just the nature of the business in minor league sports, especially independent league, where our resources are few and far between. The capital behind the team is just not there, and we go year to year. It's a very the foundation is not as sturdy as some teams. But yeah, I did a little bit of everything. Primarily, my first experience was writing press releases and game stories, and that was my introduction to social media as well. I helped manage their Twitter page, the Facebook page, and the Instagram account, essentially starting those from scratch. And if I didn't start them from scratch, it was about a week or two into their existence. And honestly, I had no clue what I was doing. I got to conduct interviews with players, coaches, staff. I filmed and edited videos that would highlight our community involvement and our appearances, whether it be player or mascot. And I had some really great mentors at my time in San Rafael as well. But also on the other side of that, it was by and large very self-taught, and it was done with a very hands-on, thrown into the fire approach, sink or swim. And if anything, my title that I had while I was there, those titles are ceremonious at best because you literally do a little bit of everything. But it was a great first experience and a great introduction to kind of the world of working in sports.
Did that help you to learn that you wanted to work in media for sports teams?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. I think when it comes to what you're doing for the club, so my first role after my first year in 2012 and 2013, they gave me the title of public and media relations manager, I think it was. And that really, again, the title's ceremonious. You do a little bit of everything. That being said, in San Rafael, I helped run social media. That was my first experience in social. I had really I didn't have a Twitter account when I joined that team. I was still very much into Facebook. But I've never really thought about using it doing it as a job. It was always for personal use. And I think also teams at the time, it was still very new to what was going on in the sports world, right? The use of social media was relatively in its infancy. So I got to learn that at the ground level. I was writing game stories for the website and runners for the local newspaper. But I also did a lot of public facing events too. So community relations, player mascot appearances. I also traveled with the team on the road to cover them for social and also write the gamers for the websites afterwards. So having that kind of hands-on approach and just being thrown in the fire, it really was fun. I enjoyed it a lot. I really enjoyed the storytelling aspect of writing either a game story or making a video for a community appearance that we went on. And I was having a ton of fun with the social side, while also fully not realizing exactly what I was doing. It was very rudimentary in that case.
What was your time like as the assistant general manager for the Sonoma Stoppers?
Yeah, so that was in 2014. The ownership group for the San Rafael Pacifics had launched a sister team up the road in Sonoma, California, which is about 30 miles north of where we were. That team was called the Sonoma Stoppers, and I was asked if I wanted to help launch the team prior to the 2014 season. It was our GM by the name of Theo Fightmaster. It was a director of business operations. His name was Sean, and then myself, and I was the assistant general manager. And Theo had been my boss at the Pacifics, and so it was a very natural fit there, and essentially a promotion in sorts. But at the same time, it was a very big challenge. It was a huge challenge. It was a much bigger role than I had ever played before, a much bigger role than I had played in San Rafael. There was only 3 of us. We were just kind of figuring it out as we go. And that's a huge undertaking to try to get going, launching a brand new team. And it was just a tremendous experience to go through too. It was something that, looking back, benefit of hindsight, probably was not prepared for something like that. But at the same time, again, thrown into the fire and you just figure it out. I took on a much more sales focused approach and role for the team. I was trying to secure sponsorships and launch our ticket sales department. At the same time, I was also running our media relations, so the social media, working with our field manager to file contracts of players that we would be adding to the roster. That's all a really unique experience when you're 22 years old, right? I was just a baby. I was very young. And here I am negotiating player contracts with guys who are making $500 to $1,000 a month. I mean, that's it. So it was a wild experience. I mean, there's no other word to put it. It was a wild experience. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see the season through. I left the club due to personal reasons, which was in the best interest of both Sonoma and myself. But even after I left, I was rooting very hard for their success. I wanted to see them be successful. They were successful. They did some really, really cool things over the next couple of years. And I'm very proud of the work that was accomplished, and that I can say I had a small part in it. I'm very proud of that. But overall, looking back with the benefit of hindsight, certainly quite an experience to go through and to learn. A lot of lessons learned. I look back on it fondly, and it was interesting to say the least.
What was your time like as the operationals at Palm Springs Powder?
Yeah, so after Sonoma, after I left the club, I went back home. I went back to Southern California, where I'm originally from. And I eventually ended up with the Palm Springs Power, which is a collegiate summer league team. They didn't have any full-time positions open there, but I had a relationship with their owner, and I had a relationship with some of their staff in my time in indie ball. And I basically just rang them up and said, listen, I will work for free. I will do whatever. I just want an opportunity. And they were generous enough to bring me on board in a seasonal position, which is essentially an intern. And I did everything. And I was power washing in the stands one day. I'd be selling merchandise the other. I was the mascot during a game. I sold tickets. I cleaned bathrooms. I did it all. And It was really hard work. It's 110 degrees in the desert in the middle of the summer, and you're working long hours day in, day out. But, I met some really great people, and I had a ton of fun. And again, great experience. And it also really helped me regain the passion that I had for working in sports. I mentioned I didn't get to see the season through in Sonoma. And after I left the ball club there, that was tough. That was a tough pill to swallow. It was tough for me to kind of get back on track. And I'm very fortunate because the power in Palm Springs gave me that opportunity. And it was right back to basics, doing anything and everything, just whatever you can do to help the ball club. And that really helped me kind of restoke that passion that I had for working in this industry.
What was the transition like from going from Palm Springs to Myrtle Beach Pelicans?
So that was in 2016. I wanted to make the move from indie ball or collegiate ball to affiliated minor league baseball, keep moving up the ladder, so to speak. And I really, at the time, I really didn't have an interest in like the major leagues. So because I loved how tangible and impactful the working in the minor leagues was. So I applied for another internship with about like 30 different teams in minor league baseball, just anywhere. It didn't matter if it was in North Dakota. It didn't matter if it was in Massachusetts, South Carolina, wherever. I just wanted the opportunity. And the Pelicans were the one to give me an interview and offer me a gig. And it was as the community relations assistant. I want to say Pelicans might have been the only team to give me an interview. Because now that I think about it, it was there were some long months there where I just did not think I was going to get a job. But they offered me a job as a community relations assistant, and I said absolutely yes, thank you, and packed up the car, drove cross country, and it was again a great experience. Did a lot of community relations work, stuff that I was really used to doing from my previous experiences, which was nice. Lots of Mascot appearances, stadium tours, school visits, working for nonprofits to get them out to the ballpark. And then as the season progressed, I was playing the role of the game day entertainment side of things, managing the promotions team, making sure that things like the on-field games were running smoothly, the promotional giveaways and the theme nights, all of those activations were happening the way they should have been. And again, another great experience to go through. And I really ate it up. I was just so grateful, I think, to be back on track doing what I wanted to do, which was working in sports. To be back in that position and to be doing this, I was just very grateful. Two, I was very excited. I was also learning a lot at the same time. I knew what to expect when it came to working long hours and the all hands on deck mentality. I had done that before for the last, 4 years prior. But even then I was still learning stuff. The learning curve was very steep, and I was gaining a deeper appreciation for the work that goes into these jobs, and a deeper appreciation that I might have had in the past. So yeah, I ate it up. It was a great experience. I really enjoyed my time.
What was your roles and responsibilities as the community relations?
For the next team that I was working for up in Erie, huh?
Yes, for Erie and the Myrtle Beach Pelicans.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of alluded to it a little bit there with in the sense of like community appearances and mascot appearances and stuff, and working on the in-game stuff. That was a lot of what I did in Myrtle Beach. But after that season in 2016, I was offered a full-time role in Erie, Pennsylvania with the Seawolves. They're the AA affiliate for the Tigers. And I spent the 2017 season up there, and then I did a lot of the same stuff, a lot of the community relations side of things, whether it's the school appearances, talking to Rotary clubs, giving ballpark tours, things like that. I also worked really heavily with nonprofits as far as getting tickets sold to them, whether it was group tickets, a fundraiser. Did a lot of player appearances and got our staff involved in the community doing volunteer work and things like that. Again, another great experience. It was a full-time role, full-time gig. It was another place of the country that I hadn't been before either. I was going from California to South Carolina up to to Pennsylvania. And so I learned how to live in the snow a little bit. Yeah, just another great experience, and also just grateful to be there. I also got to work a little bit in the social media side of things again, which was nice. I got to work with our assistant general manager up there. His name's Greg Gaina. He had been the one to run all the accounts. And he just basically said, if you'd like to help me with this, I would be, that'd be great. And so he became a big mentor for me, and I learned more about, more about the digital marketing side of things. And that was also another great experience to have.
Can you talk about, of course, coming back to Myrtle Beach as the director of fan engagement?
Yeah, so that was in 2018. So right before the 2018 season was set to get underway. I got a call from Ryan Moore down here in Myrtle Beach, who's now our team president. And he gave me a call and said that my boss at the time that I was here in 2016, she was going to be leaving and taking another job with NC State, and there would be a position opening up, and asked if I had an interest in interviewing for the open spot. And I had been aware at the time that Erie was not going to be a long-term thing. I love the people that I worked with. I had a great time. But I knew that it wasn't going to be something that I was going to, set down roots there. It was always going to lead to something down the road. And so having the opportunity to potentially come back to Myrtle Beach, a place that, one, I was familiar with, two, I still had friends with, and in weather that I very much preferred. I like the snow, but I didn't quite like living in it. Coming from Southern California, it was a little bit of a culture shock. But also being in a role too here with the Pelicans that was a little bit more suited to what I wanted to do with my career. Putting all those things together was kind of a no-brainer. And so I interviewed, I got the job, and agreed to move down in May once we got the season going in April up in Erie. So in the span of 3 or 4 or 5 days or something like that, we wrap up a homestand with the Seawolves. The next day, I'm moving out of my apartment, drive down to Myrtle Beach, move into my new apartment down here. The next day, go to work. First day with the Pelicans. 2 days later, we have another homestand. So it was a little hectic. It was a little wild in that sense. But I was thrilled. This is a place that I wanted to be. I didn't. In 2016, I was sad that I had to leave. I was very excited to get the next opportunity, but I was sad that I was going to be leaving because, I fell in love with this place. I know the management. I know the people in this office. I believe in their ability to lead. I believe in the people that I work with. I knew some of the game day staff. I knew what the culture was here and what this organization stands for, which was very important to me. It doesn't hurt that I'm back at the beach either, but I couldn't have been more thrilled to be back. And kind of in my role now, I'm doing a lot of what I want to do. And I work with a lot of talented people now, and very happy with the way it all worked out.
What are some of the roles and responsibility as the director of fan engagement?
Yeah, so in my role, I oversee all of our social media efforts. There's a great group of people here that help us all accomplish those goals as far as social media is concerned. But I'm running the accounts, I'm tracking our analytics, making sure that what we're doing and what we're putting out falls in line with our overall marketing strategy. I could not do it though without the people in our office. As far as producing content, whether it's videos, graphics, photos, whatever it might be, we've got people that make these awesome graphics or awesome videos or edit these photos or whatever it might be. So, in that sense, it's definitely not a one-person job at all. I'm very lucky to have them. It just makes my job a little bit easier because everyone has a piece of what they do, and then it all comes together, and that's what you see going out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it might be. So it's very collaborative, which I love. The other half of what I do, I guess, is overseeing our promotional efforts. So anything that has to do with giveaways, theme nights, appearances, sponsorship activations, in-game entertainment, customer service, all of that kind of falls under the umbrella of fan engagement. And Yeah. So yeah, when I make it super easy and I just say that I get to do the fun stuff. I get to work with the fun stuff. And it is fun. It certainly is. But we've got a great team here that helps me accomplish our goals. It's definitely not a one-man operation. And it's just trying to make people have fun at the ballpark, right? That's my goal. My goal every time out is, whether it's online or in person here at the stadium, a family of four walking out of the ballpark saying, we had a great time. We're going to come back. We're going to bring our friends and tell our friends, by the way, who won the game or what was the score. Baseball here is for everybody. You don't need to be a Cubs fan. You don't need to be a diehard Pelicans fan. You can be anybody, and you can come here and have a great time at the ballpark. And I want that also to translate online. I want people to have a great time when they're interacting with our accounts as well.
Can you talk about, of course, a typical game day for the Myrtle Beach Pelicans and what that would be like?
Yeah. So I know this is probably a cop-out answer, and I promise it's not. But the great thing about this role is that, and just working in minor league sports in general, not just specifically to baseball. But the great thing about this is that no day is the same. I certainly have my routine of how I do things for the most part. Wake up, try to get to the stadium around 9 or so. We have our game day meetings at 10. But then from there, it's just preparing for that night's game, for that night's events, and at the same time, you're looking ahead to the next day, to the next week, even the next month. There's a lot of different projects that get juggled day to day, and everything has different timelines and stuff, and you're working with different people. So each day might be different in terms of obligations that we have as the organization. As well, right? So like some days we may be at a school, we may be taking a player to a sponsorship appearance, we may be filming some content for social, might be on the field training the bat dog. It just kind of depends. So every day is really different. You have your routines, but you also got to be flexible and ready to kind of move at a moment's notice, because things pop up, stuff happens, and just got to be ready for anything. But I love that. It keeps things fresh. It keeps things it's you're not doing the same thing over and over and over. Everything's a little bit different every day, and I enjoy that. I like that. It keeps things fresh.
What does a typical mascot appearance look like?
Well, typically we do a few. We do ones like at schools, or we'll be at like a sponsorship appearance. So if we're at a school, it's usually an assembly, and our mascots have a great time out at those ones. They're either visiting the classrooms or at the kids on the playground. We've done sometimes like schools have the school fairs and stuff like that. So we've done that, and just had great times. Dancing, high-fiving, signing autographs. A lot of our times, our mascot will go out to our partners in the community, so our sponsors. And visit their offices or visit the car dealership or whatever it might be, help enhance their events or their programming that they have going on. Again, just kind of depends on what it looks like, but everything we do is, we always try to have fun with it. And Splash, who's our main mascot, he's a Pelican. Splash is very popular, so he's always out doing something. Yeah, we most of the time we try to keep them inside too, because in the summers out here it's a little hot. But it just depends. But everything we do, we try to have fun with.
Can you talk about, of course, what you plan to accomplish in this upcoming season with COVID and stuff?
Yeah, that's $1 million question. To be honest, I just like to get through the season. I just would really like to get through the year. It's been such a long off season. It's been such a long year for a lot of people. For us though, it's we haven't had a game. We haven't had people in the stands. We haven't had people at the ballpark, and that's a lot of what we identify with as people that work in this industry, as people that work for this organization. So just having people back is going to be a lot of fun. Just having people being able to sit down and watch a ball game again is going to be just a relief once we get going. So I don't mean to oversimplify your question at all, but truly, just getting through the year, I just want us to play ball again. But I also want us to do it safely, and I want us to do it with a level of entertainment and fun that people are used to seeing. Things are going to be a little bit different, right? We have to accommodate for social distancing and new safety standards, and there may be things that we're unable to do at this point in time. But that doesn't mean that we can't try to have the best time ever. And it doesn't mean that we have to lower our standards at all. We're going to do everything that we can as well as we can and hope that that's gets us through the year. And I believe it will. Our staff works so hard throughout the year. There's no doubt in my mind we're going to work even harder to get through this. It's going to be a challenge. There's going to be some hard times, but 2020 2021 is definitely a bridge to get to 2022, right? So if we can get through this year and get back on track and get things back to a sense of normal, then we can build off of that momentum for the years to come. There's a lot to be excited about with the return of baseball, and there's a lot to be excited about for ballparks opening back up. And so we just want to do it as safely as we can, while also having as much fun as we can.
What are some things that while we were in quarantine with no baseball, what were some of the things that you implemented in the fan engagement side of things to keep your Pelicans fans entertained and ready for baseball come this spring?
Yeah, a lot of it was our social media efforts. Our GM loves to use this analogy. The front door might have been locked to our home, but the porch light was still on, and that's meaning our social media efforts, right? We couldn't have people in the stands, we couldn't have people here, we didn't have any games, but that didn't mean that we couldn't connect with people online, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We created these programmings where we were having conversations with folks online and trying to continue to keep that community together. We have a lot of people who really miss baseball, really miss Pelicans baseball in particular. So we wanted to try to do whatever we could to bring them any sense or sort of entertainment, whether that's sharing highlights, whether that's sharing interviews. We started a podcast series, or I guess a YouTube show series. We did interviews with other folks within the league. We did games and scavenger hunts at one point. It really was just a staff bonding thing. Our staff every Thursday night would get together and watch a movie on Netflix using Netflix Party. And so we put that out there, and we had season ticket holders. We had some fans join us and watch whatever we were watching with us, and we chat with them in the chat. And it's things like that. I don't think there's there was no blueprint for how you navigate social media or fan engagement when you can't have fans or you don't have ball games. There's no playbook for that. There's nothing that tells you exactly this is how you do it. You just try to do the best you can, and just remember that you got to make connections, and social media is social. I truly believe that, and so you should engage with your audience and have fun with them. And we tried to pull down the curtain a little bit and show the human side of what we do, and remind people that the folks behind the accounts or the people behind this brand, we're hurting just as much as they are, and kind of appeal to their humanity, so to speak. So we did a lot of that. We did a lot of different merch sales as well. Again, trying to get people to remember to support us. We went a full year without any revenue. We had private events. We started renting out the ballpark as well. We hosted drive-through like bulk food orders. So like a chicken sale we had here in town. We started hosting COVID testing sites here at the ballpark using our parking lot. So whether it was locally based to help drum up more local support or local awareness, or online and try to drum up stuff around the country, because we do have fans all over the place. It was just a matter of making sure that people knew that we were still here, and we weren't going anywhere. We were going to be here for them, and we hope that they're here for us, and that we couldn't wait to see them again when we open up the ballpark.
That's so amazing. What is something that you learned now that you didn't know beforehand starting with the Pelicans?
Man, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot. There's a whole side to this job that as I continue in this role that I'm learning more and more about and more of, and learning more to a depth that I wasn't aware that existed. Things like budgeting and building out a promotional calendar, working with sponsors on in-game or online activations, communicating with the people that you work with. That's another thing. Learning how to communicate with people is one. Including our game day staff, having to be in charge of people that might be 3-4 times older than I am, learning how to deal with, dilemmas or conflict resolution, things like that, learning how to be a leader, learning how to be a mentor to interns. That's stuff that, you learn every year and you never quite figure it out. And again, I'm still really young. I'm only 29 years old. So there's the learning curve is still there every day. Things like working through design and ordering processes with vendors. This is the minor leagues, and in that sense, it is very tangible. But it's also quite complex, and there's a level of depth of work that goes into this role that's significant. And every year, I feel like I'm learning something new. I'll tell you what, from where I was in 2012 to where I am in 2021, two different people. I wish I could go back and tell 20-year-old Hunter, all the knowledge that I have now and all the tips and tricks and stuff.
That's amazing. What advice would you give upcoming people looking to get into minor league fan engagement?
Yeah, I love that question. So I might get on a soapbox here, so indulge me. But this is advice that I think anybody could use. Anybody that wants to work in sports, it's not specific to the role of a director of fan engagement or fan engagement specific or minor league baseball specific. It's really for everything. And for me, it's two things. One being know your why. Why do you want to work in this industry? Why do you get up every day and go to work? Why is your reason you're doing this? To me, it's not good enough to just be a fan of baseball. Yes, that helps, right? That does definitely help, but you need to have a little bit more than that. Or figure it out as you're starting out, figure it out as you go along, right? But keep that in mind. What is your why? That's what gets you through 15-hour workdays. That's what gets you through the times that you might have to miss a birthday or a concert with your friends because you've got a game going on. It gets you through those nights where you're just dead tired. You've pulled tarp 3 times. You're hungry. You haven't eaten. You're cold. You're wet. There's nobody in the stands. Whatever it might be. That's what gets you through those nights. The minor leagues specifically, it's a beast, and we work a lot. Oftentimes we don't have the resources that big league clubs do. You have more responsibilities that get spread around. You're working with less people, less manpower, and you're required to pull your weight in a much more obvious way, right? You can't just skate by. There's, if you're a weak link, it'll be exposed. And that all can take a toll. It really can, So to know why you want to do this job is a big piece of advice that I've heard from other people that I like to share. Figure out what that is for you, because that's what's going to get you through those tough times, right? You're not going to make a ton of money doing this. You're not going to be front and center in front of 30,000 people in a packed stadium. You're not going to be best friends with players, right? Those aren't reasons to do this, right? If that's what you think this is, then you're just wrong, and I'm sorry, but that's not a reason to do this. So find out what your why is. And the second thing, and maybe the most important, because it's something that really means a lot to me, is to take care of and focus on your mental health. This job is hard enough as it is. The hours are long. We talk about 15-hour days. That's normal. Hours are long. The sacrifices that you make, they add up. There's been seasons and years where I've only seen my family and friends through FaceTime, just because we are so busy and we're working a lot, right? Sometimes you have to miss that concert, you have to miss that party, or you miss that bachelor party, whatever it might be. I don't know. But those sacrifices can add up. And, so you don't have to make this job any harder for yourself. There's no reason to glorify that hustle culture when it comes at the expense of your well-being. I get it. You want to work hard. You want to have a good work ethic. I'm all about that, but not at the expense of you. And I've seen people who get so burned out on this that it forces them out of the industry, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier with Sonoma, that I didn't finish the season with the Stompers. And a lot of that was a result of me not taking care of myself, in a way that I needed to, physically and mentally. And when I had to step away, that's essentially me being sidelined so I could get better. So, and that stuff's serious. It's that serious stuff. And I sincerely love this job. I do. I love this industry. But I don't love the toll that it takes. So it's on me to be aware of when I need to take a break, when I need to get some rest, when I need to pick up the phone and call someone and, or ask for help, whatever it might be. That's up to me, right? And that starts with me being aware of how important the mental health side of this thing is. I need to take care of myself because that's what's going to keep me healthy. That's what's going to keep me happy. And in turn, that's what's going to make me better at my job. It's going to make me efficient at my job and not let down the people I work with, not let down this organization that's put their trust in me to deliver on what I need to deliver on. Working in sports is hard, but it's fun. And so as an industry, we need to do what we can to keep it that way. And part of that is being outspoken about this. And that's why it means so much to me. And that's why I'm outspoken about it. And I'm outspoken about taking care of your mental health and being upfront with some of the difficulties that I've faced on that front. Because I truly believe that if as long as you are aware of that and you work at it and you put that as a priority, you can do both. You can have a very long, fun, great career in this and also not suffer from burnout or other stuff like that. But you have to be aware of it. You have to take care of your mentals. That's just flat out. So yeah, not necessarily the most, boilerplate advice, I think, but it also, I think it can apply to any facet, right? Whether it's the sports industry or elsewhere, know your why do you want to do this? And then when you are doing it, take care of yourself. Those two things I think will contribute to a long, prosperous, fun, happy career.
That's amazing and helpful advice. Thank you again for your interview, but where can my listeners find you at on social media, and where can my listeners find Myrtle Beach Pelicans at?
So the Pelicans are on Twitter at Pelican Baseball, Pelican singular, Pelican Baseball. And then we are on Instagram at Pelicans Baseball, Pelicans with an S. I know it's very confusing. I apologize. And then you just search Myrtle Beach Pelicans on Facebook. So yeah, give us a follow. Would love that. And then I'm on Twitter at H_Horenstein. That's H_HORENSTEIN.
Thank you again, Hunter, for your interview, and best of luck in this upcoming season.
I appreciate it, Brandon. Thanks so much.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Hunter, for your interview, and best of luck.
Thanks so much, Brandon. Have a good one.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.